Wonderful. We are all live. Good morning and welcome to everyone for this panel discussion. The discussions on clearing the hurdles to success in your STEM career. Firstly, actually, I just want to say a big thank you to Udacity for organising this event. Apologies, we're a few minutes late joining. I hope you managed to get some water and get yourself comfortable. Just a few technical hitches behind the background, but we were really pleased to be here. My name is John McAllalisi. I will be your moderator for the panel discussion, and just really setting the context and setting the scene. So why are we here? Why is this important? According to Pew Research Center, the majority, that's 53% of STEM college degrees were earned by women, which is fantastic. Yet women remain underrepresented in science, in technology, engineering, and maths, so in STEM workforce. And women leave the industry twice as often as men do. So straight away, we see that vast majority, but we have this issue of women leaving. Now, during the next 40 minutes or so, I have this absolutely amazing, esteemed panel of experts who will offer, and they'll offer their experience on how they have personally cleared hurdles in their STEM careers. So if I may, let me just do a very, very quick set of introductions, and then we'll get straight into the discussion. So on the panel, we have, hopefully you can see the slide. On the panel, I'm going to go through and say hi to everybody really quickly. Obviously, my name's John McAllalisi. This is me. I'm a partner in KPMG, former UK board member, UK head of ESG. I studied fashion and knitwear design and absolutely understand the importance of having diverse perspectives to bringing that to the workplace. We have Dr. Eva Peggy Best. She's a senior auditor at BMW Group and a Udacity customer. Like, absolutely delighted to have you. We've got Dr. Lamia also. Dr. Lamia Shafai is the CEO of Education for Employment, and it's absolutely amazing to have her. So she's the CEO for a non-profit NGO focused in education for employment in Tunisia. We also have Shilpi. Wonderful to have you as a director of engineering at Sky. And just moving on, we also have Sylvia Mungley, who's a chief consumer business officer at Safaricom, and also Udacity customer, another customer. And last but by no means least, we have Homer Siddiq, who's the managing director of Credit Suisse and a global head of digital transformation. Now, just setting the scene, just kicking off, maybe Sylvia, I'll start with you first, but just setting the context. So we see that we know there's a huge potential for GDP growth by closing the STEM gender gap. In monetary terms, this means an improvement from a EU GDP perspective, somewhere between 610 and 820 billion euros by 2050. And this could add as much as 12 trillion or 11% to global annual GDP by 2025. So here's the question, first for you, Sylvia. What do you see as the biggest ways governments and NGOs can contribute to closing that gap and realizing this potential?
Thank you for that question. So I'm logging in from Nairobi, Kenya, from Africa. So hi to everyone from wherever it is in the world that you're logging in. Really happy to be here. I think a really fantastic question, and I mean, I'll allow the rest of the rest of the panelists to also give their pitch. But I believe that when you have big problems such as this, you can't have one entity that is responsible for addressing it, and therefore looking at this from a partnership perspective becomes very imperative, where you bring in different partners with different objectives, whether it's governmental or NGOs or corporates such as ourselves, to say what is the future that we actually want to create and what is the role of each entity in shaping that future. Speaking from our own experience, one of the things as a corporate organization that we have signed up to is the Sustainable Development Goals, where specifically on SDG 10, we have made a commitment as a corporate organization to ensure that we reduce inequality by ensuring that we create as wide a platform as we possibly can to ensure that we get as many people included in all the technology solutions that we're coming up with. Now, with the rapid proliferation of technology and digitization, even here in Africa, we are actually seeing that the biggest benefit in terms of bringing people who are previously left behind is coming to the female and the women gender. We have a product that's called M-Pesa, which has driven a lot of financial inclusion. And when you actually look at the bridge that we've been able to close, it's mainly for women, because I think women have been left behind in a lot of the conversations. And there is no way we can be having conversations yet not representing a very significant chunk of the population that we have today. So I think from a policy perspective, that is the role that government has to play in terms of helping to define the policies or the creating the room or the bandwidth for corporate organizations to be able to get onto the table and begin now to kind of create that difference. It's imperative for organizations to also embed this in their objectives, in as much as we are a P&L kind of focused type of business. We recognize that you cannot have a strong company which is exists society that is weak. And therefore, each corporate organization has the responsibility to then ask themselves, what is our commitment or what is our responsibility in creating our future customers? That's why I'm here, because STEM is talking to all the young girls out there, telling them that engineering and technology are great careers to be able to build yourself in, that you can make a difference by coming up with a technological innovation that can actually transform the lives of your community. So I think the more we create the policies and create the bandwidth, and then get more people who are willing to get onto the dance floor and begin to experiment and share their learnings in forums such as this, the more we'll be able to create the change and encourage a lot more girls to get into this space.
Look, that's amazing. I mean, a wealth of fantastic points around, partnerships, SDGs, Sustainability Development Goals, was fantastic. Signed up to those, embedding in objectives. I wonder, Lamia, do you have any things, any thoughts to add to this?
Thank you, John. And first of all, warm greetings from Tunis to our great audience, and my sincere and grateful thanks to the Audacity team for the kind invitation and for this great opportunity. As you mentioned earlier, even though it may seem that women outnumber men at universities, but they still lag in terms of employment. And I would like to give concrete figures from the case of Tunisia. So in Tunisia, we have 39% of STEM university graduates that are women, and we have 55% of Tunisian researchers that are females. But unfortunately, those graduates still struggle to find work in the field. So in fact, women with STEM degrees have much more difficulties to get employed. And I will also give some figures about the unemployment rate in Tunisia. For the third quarter of 2020, we had 40.6% of women university graduates that are unemployed against 17.6% of men, which means that there is a huge issue of unemployment for women, and particularly university graduates and STEM graduates. So here comes the role of NGOs. So Education for Employment, we are a network of NGOs. We are present in 8 countries in the MENA region, and particularly in Tunisia. And our main objective is really to to help youth in the MENA region build a better future by finding economic opportunities. We provide training programs to place youth in jobs. And in our model, we build strong partnerships with employer partners to try to train and place youth in jobs. And we are focusing particularly on key sectors such as ICT, which is one of the most promising sectors in terms of job creation, as well as healthcare, agribusiness, especially after the pandemic period. And here we try first to sensitize the employers and HR managers, operation managers on hiring women graduates because of the bias that exists already. And also we work on creating a systemic change in the educational system by trying to integrate soft skills trainings, leadership skills, digital skills, and trying really to focus on gender equity in these programs. And also, we try to implement programs that are dedicated and targeting STEM graduates and women, particularly entrepreneurship programs in technological fields. We launch boot camps. We organize also leadership programs that are targeting women to encourage young girls to go and really to be brilliant in the technology field. And that's it.
No, I mean, that's wonderful, Lamia. So if I sum it up, so on one hand, just hearing from you, so that it's that consistency of data, which is large volumes of women going through educational institution, which is great. That's absolutely fantastic. But then that not flowing through into the workplace, and it was wonderful to hear some of the work that you're doing with your NGO. But maybe if I open this out to the panel, and maybe if I come to you, Shilpi, and really want to understand, maybe from you personally, what are some of the hurdles that you've personally faced in your career? So I'll ask it to all panel members, but I'll come to you first, Shilpi, if I may.
So, greetings to all. And firstly, I am really honored to share this, to be a panelist with such exceptional women. And thank you, Audacity, for this opportunity. Coming back to your question, John, thank you. That's a wonderful question. I come from India, and it's a very, very male dominated. When I was growing up, it was a very, very male dominated society with where the men in the house used to make all the decisions. And it is hard at times because when I was growing up, the kind of mentality my family had, not my parents as such, because my mom was a very educated woman. She had double masters. She wanted to go out and work, but she was never given the opportunity. So it was something that women in the house wouldn't work. You're there to look after the family, take care, cater to their needs, and that's what you're worth. And the man would be going out, earning it, and providing you with all the comforts. But that's what your position in the house is. So while I was growing up, the intent was with the family I came from was to like finish my elementary education, get my A levels, and then probably think about getting me married to a very well settled guy so that I can enjoy the same benefits that my mother did. But my mother was this very, very like strong influencer when it comes to family matters. She was very, very stern. She said, I want my daughters to be educated. So my father initially was not very sure about like sending us like, and they are very protective as well. It's more about like you do not want to taint the image of the family. You provide women with independence. You do not know what would happen, right? So he was a bit skeptical, but my mother was really, really strong when it came to the women education or the education of her daughters. So that gave me an opportunity to pursue my engineering because I cleared my medical exams, I cleared my engineering exams, and because I didn't want to be a doctor because I faint at the sight of blood. So engineering was the only other option that was available to me. So that's where I took up engineering and I finished my engineering. And at that point, my father realized that that is like the men in the house. If I looked at the male members in my family, like my cousins and everybody, I was a university topper. And my father, that made my father proud of my achievement. And that was when he said, I would like you to go to London and pursue higher education. And that's when his mentality started changing. He saw that you don't have to be a son to make your parents proud. You can be a daughter and still be there for them, look after them, and provide them with the pride and honor that a son can bring. And that's where he started investing time and effort into my sister's education, making sure they have the best starts in their lives. And I think that was a catalyst for me to break that mold. If I wouldn't have performed, I don't think my sisters would have had the future they have today. So I think that is one of the biggest hurdles when it comes to a patriarchal society. it is always male dominated. And the thing is, sometimes the thought is women are subservient, they're there to serve. And I think that's where the mentality has to change. Because when you all when you have a family, it is responsibility, I believe, especially of a woman, to make sure the sons are raised where they respect the women in the household. They understand that there's not no chore in the house that is limited to a woman's responsibility. So you need to be very clear about, if you want to change the society, you have to change your sons, and you have to invest, give them the right upbringing, so that we can form a society where we all grow up as equals. And I think that would be really, really beneficial for the society. Because if you have the right mindset, all the males know that, yes, we are all equal. There's not no job which is designed or which is designated for a woman. I think that would be instrumental in shaping the society for future.
Well, I'm going to quote you on there. If you want to change the society, you have to change your sons. I'll quote you on that. You've heard it here. That's wonderful. Maybe Ava, I come to you. Maybe the same question to yourself around some of the hurdles that you've personally experienced. I think you may be on mute. Just a second. That's wonderful. Can you hear me?
John, thank you very much for that question. I really appreciate to be in this intercultural and international group of panelists, and I'm very pleased to share my own story. So I'm currently calling from Germany, and you asked me what hurdles I challenged and I saw. So when I started my career studying computer science and international management, it went very well, and I went to different IT jobs and in manufacturing as well as IT branch. So it was very male dominated, but a really challenge I faced was the time when I was becoming a mother of 2 little sons. So then I was really, really struggling, pushing my career any further, and at the same time competing with male colleagues, having more time, having more flexibility, for example, when it comes to business travel and so on. So how I tried to clear that hurdle was I tried to be very well organized, focused and structured because of the very limited time I had, and I would reaching out for support. So that's why it's very interesting to listen to Shilpi's story, because I think you are in a similar situation. In Germany, I tried to, get support from family, get support from my husband, and it works very well. And I was in the lucky situation that my company paid me respect in working efficient and supporting me in needing more time to take care of my personal stuff. And I think this is how companies should push it to get more diversity into STEM jobs by providing different kind of structures. For example, could be shared leadership where women or men share job and management position as well, having more flexibility in working when it comes to location, when it comes to time. So I hope by this methods and we can get more females in STEM jobs, because I think as mentioned before, it's a great chance to shape the future, to work in STEM. I can encourage everyone who is interested in, this is how you can shape the future. This is how you can participate. So it's great that we have this discussion today.
That's wonderful. And just one thing I'll pick up on briefly, when you talk about the support from your husband. So my wife works, she's global head of diversity at Accenture, incredibly proud of her. So as women, your husbands, your spouses, your partners, please ensure that they are providing the support to you that you need, so that you have, an equal relationship so both careers can flourish and so on. So that's a great point. I'm going to ask this question just to one more person, because I haven't heard from you yet, Homer. So I'll come to you, and I can see some questions coming through on the chat. So come to you, same question in terms of some of your personal hurdles and then I'll go to some questions on the chat. So Homa, over to you first, please.
Thank you, and thanks, John, and the Udacity team for having me here today. I'm also a proud customer of the capability, and it's making a difference in the life of our employees. And it's great to be part of this international panelist, and I love the answers of my colleagues to date. So I won't repeat some of the key things that they've mentioned. So just like Lamia said, I too come from India, so the statistics are very much as Shilpi said, and I think Shilpi, what you said resonated because I too had brave mother, grandmother who supported my education, and just like Eva, you said, I was fortunate to marry a man who also supported my career ambition. So I won't repeat those hurdles because I think my colleagues have gone through them. But what I struggled with is that when I entered the job marketplace, I didn't know what to strive for. I didn't have a role model to look up to say what is possible for somebody like me. I don't fit into the cookie cutter definition of the roles that were emerging 20 years ago. When we all were starting our careers, and technology in particular was pretty nascent and growing pretty fast. I didn't have a blueprint to understand what could I aspire to be, and who did I want to be in that journey. And so I do what we all did, right? Which is work very hard, network, put the best effort in, but not having somebody who I could look up to say, look, that's who I want to be, was a challenge. And I think the other thing that Shilpi mentioned, which is super important, which we all don't realize, is that we are role models for others. And so Shilpi, you breaking that glass ceiling helped your sisters, right? So what we're doing today is helping others who are just behind us, who need as much as help and if more help than we do to achieve what they need to. And so I think that very early on, a lot of some of the decisions that I made or some of the insecurities that I had early on in my career were really just stemmed from the fact that I couldn't talk to anybody about my challenges. And I didn't know where to go to look up to say, I want to achieve that in 4 to 5 years. And it was very, very different from my male counterparts, right? They could go to a sports bar, they could talk about making, X level at this time, and I didn't have that. But, nonetheless, we find our way to make it through. Because the good news is about this industry is growing and there's clearly enough supply of roles available. So people who have the right attitude, the right mindset, the willingness to learn, the willingness to partner and connect will have an opportunity. And it's just getting into the right momentum with the right like-minded people to help you progress.
That's wonderful, and just in the spirit of helping others, I'm gonna pick this first question I see coming through. Maybe we can give some help to somebody right now. So I'll read the question out, and as panelists, please feel free to raise your real hand, should we say, not for it, if anybody would like to take this question, and we'll try and do a rapid fire take on this question if we can do. As a mature woman, how do I begin? The majority of programs are for young. Is there anybody who would like to take that one and give some advice? Yes, Homa? Yeah, go for it.
I actually, in my own former role, have been dealing with the reverse, which is if you have too many young people, you don't get what you need either, okay? And again, for all the young people here, I'm not saying something negative against your energy or your ability or creativity and ability to get things done. But sometimes in corporate environments, we do need to balance, the maturity of how to deal with an issue and how to think about an issue and connecting and what you do in technology changes people's lives, right? When you bring a new software piece or when you bring some new analytics, and it's less sometimes about how brilliant that technology is and more about taking people through the human journey of change. And so people who have had more life experiences with change in particular, especially if it's from different industries or different perspectives, can have that. So don't think of age as something that will limit you. Think about what else you have in your experience that can help the journey of your target organization. So that's what I would say.
That's great advice. Just really valuing that experience, and obviously I don't know that so the individuals asked the question. I don't know where they're based. We've got an international panel now, but to the extent that there are wonderful organisations that Lamia has just mentioned, who are NGOs who can support you. Also, I mean, please reach out for organisations like that too. One thing I would bring in now, and Homa, beforehand, when you were talking, you talked a little bit about role models, but maybe what I'll do is bring back in ever on this. So you touched. So what do you think about the role of mentorship? So we've heard about role models, but mentorship in increasing diversity and representation in tech.
Absolutely, it's a great, and I think it's a very important question, because mentorship, from my perspective, should take an important role in increasing diversity. I would like to share my experience. So when I went through different stages and different jobs, I was lucky to find somebody supporting me, male or female bosses, supporting me, believing in my strength, giving me advices, giving me open feedback, criticism as well, that I can grow. So I think mentorship should start very early, and Homa already touched that. If I look at girls at school, I think some of them, they can't imagine themselves what it means being a computer scientist or an engineer. So I think mentorship must start very early, giving transparency what great opportunities lie in these STEM jobs. So it's about to reduce stereotypes, like the one of the IT nerd sitting in front of a computer in the basement of a company without seeing daylight, because that's not the reality. It's more like you can shape the future, you can work in technical or more business related jobs. So I think mentorship must create transparency here. What does it mean? What does a mentor, engineer or a computer scientist look like? And later in the job, I think it's a job of leaders, of managers, to increase the diversity, to really check, is my team diverse? Do I have old colleagues working for me? Do I have women? And so on. So diversity in all its kinds. And I think that would really help to increase diversity if mentors and management should try to help talented females to step up, to be brave, and to be visible.
So that's fantastic. And maybe I'm going to bring back in Sylvia. Come back to you, and you spoke first. So we talked about, you know, seeing those role models and having active mentorship, but we also recognise that we lose women, don't we? Along the funnel, along the way, right from elementary school, right through into their careers. Where in the funnel do you think we should be focusing, and at what point are women most vulnerable, most need support? Just want to get your thoughts on that, maybe Sylvia.
I think the way to look at this is, what is the woman going through at that particular stage? Because if you think about it, and I love what is being said here, even when you think about mentorship, when you think about young girls who are in high school or they're in university, are they hearing stories? Are they seeing role models who have gone ahead of them in the path? Are they hearing stories that, yes, you can actually be an engineer, you can be a developer, you can code? Because that then begins to affirm them, and they know that it's not a boys only territory, right? When they now begin now to look for jobs, are we creating opportunities by having very specific objectives that say, as leaders internally, you're being measured. I am measured on my diversity and inclusion ratios, which is not just about women, but just how representative the management table that I lead is in terms of cultures, gender, and so that we don't have any biases. As marketers, for example, what is our marketing communication talking about when you're propagating different pieces of communication? Are you creating stereotypes in your audience? So being alive to that. But when I think about that curve, probably the balance for women, or where you become most vulnerable, especially in Africa, is you're beginning to grow your career, but at the same time, you're a wife, you're a mother, you have community responsibilities. And I think sometimes we feel that one comes at the expense of the other. And we need to have a lot more stories around women who have managed to make it. I mean, I have done this. I've been in the C-suite for the last 10 or so years. And I'm reading a book by Indra Nui, who's talking about balancing her work, family, and her future. So we need a lot more women who are telling those stories, so that as I'm growing my career, I don't feel that I have to do it at the expense of my family. I think there's a lot of kind of hacks we can have. How do you create a support ecosystem that allows you there's a joke I like to make that, when I get into a table, I say I also need a wife, because all the men who are seated around the table have wives who are cooking for them, making sure their laundry is sorted and all those kind of things, especially here in Africa. So how then do I create that support ecosystem that allows me to play at the same level as everybody else in the room without feeling disadvantaged? And having the confidence that as a woman, even because I'm seeing some people asking questions around, I'm the only woman at the table. There's something different you're bringing. There's some value that you have. That's why we have created male and female. And be appreciative of your value, own it, and as Sheryl Sandberg taught us, lean in and give it in as you make your presentations.
No, that's wonderful. And when you talk about bringing something different, I mean, certainly from my perspective, sitting on the board of KPMG, I'm the first Black individual on the board in its 150-year history, the first Black individual on the board of any Big Four in the UK ever, and really proud to be on the board with its first female chair of Asian background. And actually, that intersectionality and the richness of discussion, I believe that we're vast majority female now. We're over 50% female, and it is absolutely wonderful. So it really resonates with me. I'm going to bring you back in. So just reading a few questions in. The questions coming in. I'm conscious we've only got about 9 minutes, so I'm going to put as many questions to panelists as possible. If we can have really short, punchy answers, so we can get through as many. There's a lovely one that's making me smile. I'll get to that next. But so allow me a few. So hi, I am a HR business partner for Signify, formerly Philips, based in the Netherlands, and we are desperate to hire women in tech and software especially, but we can't seem to find enough of them. We're looking in the Netherlands, US, Poland, etc. What advice would you give her?
Okay. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you, John, for this very interesting question. Actually, I believe now, especially for the IT sector, we have the globalization, and the resources and the talent exists, I believe, in different countries. And now with technology, sourcing candidates maybe can be easy, and using now we have the freelancing platforms that exist, and you can reach out resources in different parts of the world and talent through platforms. Also, I believe now, especially after the pandemic, and we realize it, there is no need to have people within the country, but throughout the world they can work remotely, and you can actually access to a lot of talent. And actually, in Tunisia, for instance, now we are working a lot on remote working, and how, for instance, women and men can really work and contribute and enrich their community from their home countries. And there is a huge potential to actually contribute and be part of teams, multicultural teams, and this will also foster the diversity, from different countries, and really contribute in IT projects and software development or HR activities. So this is my response.
No, I mean, that's a wonderful response. You're absolutely right. I mean, really, we've got the whole world has opened up. We've seen this through the pandemic. I mean, we've got this rich, amazing panel right now, and we're all virtually in one place, and we're all communicating. So certainly to add to that, I mean, the advice that I would give, we know that women who have more college degrees, more grads, more coming through than men. So the volume is there. And I would certainly add to your point in that, Lamia, that we need to be tough with our recruiters. But actually say the volume is there. We can be more remote, and we know this. So you need to go and find and actually have, proper, don't just give me one male CV. It has to be 50-50. And if you can't do that, that's absolutely fine. We'll go elsewhere, because certainly from a KPMG perspective, we've seen quite a large volume of more specialist recruiters who are more willing to search, more willing to be more creative about how they do that. So the candidates are out there. I have to read this one because this is making me smile. It's just the first line. Just to say, you are so lots of 0 inspiring! Exclamation mark! Exclamation mark! And I agree, you guys absolutely inspiring. OMG! Exclamation mark! As a Brazilian and young engineer working in Belgium for a German company, it really means a lot what you have said, because I really see myself and my everyday challenges. My question is, here we go. How can I overcome the feeling that I have about my value not being good enough? It's too heavy and I feel super anxious. I don't want to fake it until I make it. That's the Amy Cuddy reference. I would like to feel it. Do you have any advice? And I think, Shilpa, you putting your hand up. I think you. Yeah.
I think I really wanted to answer this question because it just resonates my career. Oh, the thing is, what you need to do is have that self-worth. If you do not value yourself, if you don't have that self-worth, don't expect anybody to do charity on you. So I remember when I started my job, I was underpaid. It was my first job and I didn't even know what my value was. After 3 years, I asked for a salary raise. I didn't get a salary raise for 3 years. I kept working for that same salary for 3 years. When I asked for a salary raise, it was not given. And at that point, I resigned because I saw the market, everybody was getting at least double of my salary for the job I was doing.
Wow.
And I was like, I was jobless. And I was like, I was not even sure what I should do in my career because I was like, what have I done? Have I done a big mistake? Because I'm not sure if I would get a job elsewhere. And at that point, I started applying and I got a job at Amazon and it was double the salary, and within a year it tripled. So it's about understanding your craft, knowing your skill set, and making sure that you understand the market. It is really really important to understand what the market is paying for your role. You need to understand your skill set, invest in yourself, invest in your craft, because that gives you the confidence to ask what truly you deserve. And secondly, it's also very important to ensure that while you are working in leadership roles, if you see a woman being underpaid within your team, within, ask that question, make sure they are aware, and do the right thing by making sure they have the right pay for their craft. So I think that's one thing which I have really really felt is very important. I had a lot of women engineers in my team who were not even being paid 70% of what their male counterparts were doing, and they were actually performing much better. So in my one-to-ones, I asked the simple question I asked, I said, are you truly worth what you're being paid? And they were like, yes. And then I asked the right question. I kept challenging them. I said, why you are a top performer? Do you even know what the market pays you? And when we actually started having those conversations, they started looking at the market and they came back and said, Shilpi, am I being underpaid? I said, yes. So now you've asked for a raise, you'll get a raise. But I would not give it to you just because I think you need to be paid more and you're not doing your homework. So that is equally encouraging, and our responsibility to ensure that if we feel a women engineer is being paid less, ask those questions, make them think that they need to have that self-worth and they need to value their craft. So I think that's really really important.
That's
So I
wonderful.
hope I've answered your question.
No, that's absolutely wonderful. Now, look, I'm conscious of time. We've only got a couple of minutes left. I could be speaking to you guys all day. You're so inspiring, and just your different experiences coming together is absolutely wonderful. If I may, we'll probably go over, because we started a few minutes late, just a few minutes. But just to rapid fire, I'm going to come to each of you. I'll ask the same question. What one lesson would you share to help others to clear whatever it is in terms of their current, but then also potential future hurdles? So I'm just going to go around each of you. So maybe Lamia, I'm going to come back to you. Why don't we start with you first?
One lesson and one advice. Actually, I do encourage all women to really first gain confidence in themselves, and really learn and learn and learn to gain the skills and to prove, I mean, to gain the position they deserve. For my case, I believe the fact that I continued really learning and really being sharp in my skills and my activity empowered me to position myself in let's say environment that is dominated by men, and proving my technicity, my professionalism was really key for success, for my success in the field. So please be curious and really try to learn and learn and learn. That is my advice.
Fantastic. Curious, learn and learn, but gain confidence in yourself. So again, what's your one tip? Homer, maybe over to you next.
Sure. So I think for me, and again, just like my colleagues have said, invest in yourself, believe what your worth is. But I would also say, stay connected to people around you and always find a way to be helpful and useful, because that will be a self-virtuous cycle over the course of your career, right? Things that you did and helped somebody years ago will come back, and also keeps you connected to what's happening, right? I think school teaches us to kind of go off into like our little silo and study and get better marks and not look left, not look right. But when you come into the real world, the real successes always happen with partnerships and people helping you. And just like Lamia said earlier, we don't have enough role models out there to look at. But so when I watched the Hidden Figures movie, and I was able to talk about to see, look, it was women who helped put this spacecraft on the moon. Women doing math, can help solve that problem. So share the stories of successes, and when you have this little network of staying connected to each other, you can also then help promote what we're all trying to achieve.
Amazing. Sylvia, over to you.
What I would say that has helped me is in Africa, we have the big five. So we say you eat an elephant at a time. You don't try to eat all of it at a go. And I summarize that by saying seek progress, not perfection. I think one of the challenges we have as women is, and we even say this when people are applying, men, so long as they know they have 30% of the qualifications, they dive right in. Women, you want to have 110% of the qualifications before you can even begin to think about applying. Seek progress, not perfection. You get better as you continue to do it. So dive in, give it your best effort, be confident about it, show up with the very best version of yourself, and then get better as you go along. You don't have to have it all together before you start. So you don't have to have your degrees, you don't have to have home sorted. Just get started. It will perfect as you go along.
That's amazing. I love it. That's amazing. Eva, maybe over to yourself.
Yes, thank you. Our topic of the panel was how to clear hurdles. So my last advice is how to clear hurdles. And I would like to give you the tip. You don't need to clear any hurdles by yourself. Go and search for a network, search for supporters. That never has been easier than today via social media, for example. And this is really helpful if you struggle with any hurdles, so you can discuss this with your peer group. You can find a mentor who supports you. That would be my advice.
Amazing. You don't have to go it alone. Don't clear hurdles by yourself. And last but by no means least at all, Shilpi, over to you. What's your one piece of advice?
I think one thing which I struggle with, and I think that will be really, really important, is firstly, let nobody define you. Do not let anybody tell you where the ceiling exists for you. That's something, because I think each and every one of us have the capabilities to strive for the sky. And that is really, really important. Secondly, we don't have to be great at everything. I don't have to be an amazing, great mom. I can be a decent mom, look after my kids, and do a decent job. So there are times where you would not be amazing at it. Whether it's parenthood, there would be days you cannot be amazing at your job. That's okay. The thing is, you have to have that confidence that I would give it my best, and it is okay for me not to be best at everything. There would be things that drop. Do not penalize yourself for that. It's okay. We do a lot more. And I absolutely believe we do a lot more than our male counterparts would ever do. Whether it is parental leave, we are very, very proud of shared parental leave. Is that the right premise or foundation for a good parenthood? I do not believe so. Why do you not have equal parental leave of 9 months for male and females? Because it is a joint responsibility to bring a child up together. That's when men would learn to not sleep at night, look after the baby, change their diapers 20 times a day, because that's when you would give them that opportunity to be a perfect father. The society doesn't allow us to do that. Shared parental leave, great. I can go back early to my career, but would I want to leave my child behind with my husband who has not had the opportunity to look after my child? That's something we have to think about. We have to break these molds. If companies want to invest in their people, we give our heart and soul into our jobs. Then give your heart and soul back to us, where we can build a bright future for our kids by being there both as mother and father and giving them the right initial start. I think that's really, really important, because I think that's where we lose most of the women.
Amazing. So thank you all. Whilst you don't need to be great at everything, I would say you guys are great. You've been a great panel with great role models, and it's wonderful that in your busy days that you take the time to share and support others. So I want to thank you all very much. Thank you again to Dasti for organising this. So everyone, you've heard this in terms of clearing those hurdles, gain confidence in yourself, stay connected, and be helpful and useful to others. Seek progress, not perfection. Don't go it alone. Get others. We're so interconnected in this world now. Don't clear the hurdles by yourself, and let no one define you. So thank you all very much. Thank you for your wonderful questions. Please connect with these wonderful and inspiring women. I hope you enjoyed the session, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Take care.
Thank you, John, and thanks everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Julie. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.